Hello, everybody. So today I have got Richard Blakemore with me. He's a really good chap. He's got a very unusual background. From all the guests that I've had on previously, it resonates with maybe one other person, but he's going to tell us his story about how he got into cyber. And I think it's a very interesting one that many people are going to want to hear. So, with nothing further ado, Richard, welcome, and let's hear your story. How you got into cyber.
Perfect. Thank you, Musa. So for me, I I started loving IT when I was a kid. Grew up massive gamer and spent way too many late nights playing games. But through that time, I sort of dabbled with servers and stuff. Like I played with World of Warcraft, and I was getting into like making my own servers up and playing a bit of SQL and stuff, which sort of piqued my interest in IT. And messing around on IRC places and other different places like that. Then I went to college, did 4 A levels, one in computing. That was the only one I passed. The rest of them I failed. So I decided to do a BTEC National Diploma, which is more coursework instead of doing tests. Um, so I got 3 A's in that, and then from there I I decided I don't want to go to uni. I know a lot of colleges in the UK do try and force people to go to uni. For me, it wasn't for me. Um, Looking back, I don't know. I'm happy with my route that I went. So after that, I worked for a bit, and then stuff happened, and I decided, you know what, I've always wanted to join the Royal Air Force, so let's do it. So I applied in the Feb, and then that same year in the May I was in. So it was very fast turnaround. Where I applied to be an IT specialist in the Royal Air Force, but that job title has probably changed multiple times now since I was in there. Um, I did a couple of weeks, or 9 weeks basic training, where they learned you to be a soldier, and then I went off to do my trade training, which is a lot of soldering, a lot of radar, radios, servers as well, a lot of system administration, that kind of thing. So I basically learned the trade for a year, and then I moved to the tactical communications wing, or the 90 signals unit at RAF Leeming, where I did that for 4.5 years. Went to some hot and sandy places, but it's basically an IT help desk in the desert. So it was interesting, let's say. 1 minute you're doing one thing, next minute you're fixing someone's PC. Always remember a story where I was sort of fixing a laptop for a Special Forces major, SAS guy, and he had like just hand grenades on his desk, and I was just there fixing his laptop, and it was just like, this is crazy. But I I basically moved because every 4 years you have to sort of move and get a new posting. So I moved down to London and hated it. And
Mm.
at that time, I had just met my missus, and I just decided this is something I just don't want to do anymore. My morals had changed and stuff, so I decided to leave. Then I became an IT trainer. It's kind of remember when I was leaving the forces, it's kind of I need to get a job, and so I was applying for everything. And this IT training role came up, and it's something that I enjoy. I enjoy training people and talking to people, and kind of quite a people person. So I did that for a year and a half, small company, and then I moved on to. I wanted the hands-on again. I missed that hands-on that I had in the forces, networking, system administration, VoIP, all that kind of stuff. So I moved to system administration at a construction company. Got made up to a team leader role while I was there, which is great. Then I moved to another construction company, heading up, well, team leading help desky service desk, which is more first line, second line, third line stuff that we did, kind of bit of everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then that had an opportunity. So my manager at that place, he moved to a place called Refinitiv, which is a financial company, doesn't exist anymore. I'll go into that in a second. But it was a cybersecurity role in the identity and access management space. And it wasn't a fully on the tools, it was more service delivery, engagement kind of role, kind of like a making sure that people can speak to that IAM team successfully, but also consulting, that kind of thing, and learn. And I've always wanted to get in cybersecurity. a couple of years before that, I did qualifications like my ITIL, got my Security Plus and other different things, and I always wanted to get in security. So I just thought, you know what, this manager's good. I'm going to move on to this place. Got the job at Refinitiv, which then got bought out by LSEG about a year later. So I'm working now for a London Stock Exchange. When that merger happened, I basically moved from the IAM team because my role didn't exist anymore. So I moved to something called Cybersecurity Engagement, which is basically the front door to cybersecurity. Again, like a consultancy role, basically working between the developers and the business with the cybersecurity team, basically being that glue. And then recently, I've moved to be a principal security training and awareness person, and I've been in that role since April.
That is fantastic. And what's really interesting is that you've had a few different changes. I mean, obviously, I think that's probably why you've got such a calm demeanor being part of the military and actually being in places where you need to stay calm and cool. I mean, that's a great story about the SAS. Colonel. I really like that. So, yeah, I think that's really cool. And I think the fact that you come from an IT background, which then morphed into sort of access controls and then into, you know, where you are now and currently doing. So during the early points, when you first moved into sort of cybersecurity, I mean, access controls and using IAM and PAM is very much on the periphery of it, but still, it's still considered. Did you do any certs, any certifications or boot camps to help you on your journey?
Yeah, I mean, when I joined that role, I was going in a bit blind. I was like, I kind of know, because when people say cybersecurity, you think pen testing, hackers, that kind of thing. And identity access management was kind of, I've done it in system administration roles, but I've not done a role just focusing on that. It's a little bit different. So for me, I hadn't at the time. I mean, I did a Security Plus, but I didn't do anything specifically for IAM. Luckily for me, I was part of a lot of. I mean, it was about the time of COVID, so a lot of communities span up, and a big shout out to some communities like Tech Vets, a UK-based one for veterans, where I got quite a lot of learning from immersive labs, and a few other ones that I got access to. So I did quite a bit of learning on there. I did obviously InfoSec Live, as you know, and there's a lot of stuff that happened around there where I was sort of, and I was sort of, it was more by osmosis, I would say. I was learning sort of in the community with the different teams in the IAM space, learning from that space. But then since then, I've had the opportunity to get my CISP, and during that transition between the IAM team to the engagement team, I did have quite a bit of time because it's kind of a little bit of turmoil. So I just thought, you know what, I'm going to buckle down and get some qualifications under my belt. So I got my ISO 27001, and this is all because I was lucky enough to be a veteran. There was opportunities that I'd had free vouchers basically. So I thought, you know what, take them. So I got my AZ 900. I got my 27,001 foundation. I got my NIST CSF. So I got quite a few qualifications, and I was sort of like, this is great. It's like getting loads of certs. And I think what helped me massively, I think, was my experience in the past. A lot of the stuff that I did in the forces and in the different roles. One thing I'm a big advocate for is apprenticeships. And what's one thing that I did in the forces? So that they basically put you through an apprenticeship, and I did an IT apprenticeship with them. And that was like, I think without that background knowledge, I would have struggled a lot more to be where I am, because what I could do is pivot my knowledge and put a security stance on it just because I'm in that space. So, yeah, I mean, I've got quite a few. I mean, I've been called a certification bandit in the past because I was just chasing loads of certs. But at the moment, I've got my CISP, which is obviously quite high up there. So I'm just trying to get my CPEs up now. I think that's my big thing at the moment. So make sure I keep it. I don't want to do the test again.
Absolutely. I mean, it's really interesting to hear you talk about apprenticeships. I mean, I'm certainly a massive advocate of it, and I have I have tried very hard in the past to try and help people to go down that route. Although there is strict requirements in this country, yeah, to go on to the apprenticeship, and it seems that most of the people that are interested that aren't actually from here, unfortunately, which makes it very difficult. So, but yeah, I mean, I can remember back in the day, I years ago before I started my A levels, I started an apprenticeship. I worked at International Computers Limited in Ardwick, which was really a nightmare because there was one train to get there in the morning and one train because from where I lived, it really wasn't very accessible, and I didn't drive it. I had my driving license by that stage, but I didn't have a car or transport to get there.
Mm.
So, and it was only paying something like 60 to 70 pound a week,
Oh wow.
which you know, it's very little, but I tell you what, 4 months, you know, would you remember the CFAX, the sort of what do you call it, teletext and all of that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, they had an intranet for the company, and I was updating that and learning how to process and program that.
Oh
So
wow.
that was one of the years ago. But then I got convinced that really had to go and do my A levels, and the rest is history. But yeah, I'm a big advocate of it, and I like the fact that, and I think definitely your background has most definitely helped you. So, what advice do you have for people trying to enter into the industry? What are the key takeaways that you can give them to say, right, you need to do this, and it will help you to get into the industry?
I've always been an advocate for, and I always use this analogy of building a house. So think about building a house. You build build your foundation. You can't build a house on sand. You build your walls. You put your doors on. You put your windows on, and then you start putting your burglar system in, your locks on, all the different stuff. And that's sort of how I think about IT. You need to know that foundational knowledge. You need to know how a computer even works, because how can you secure it if you don't know how it works? And it goes back to the analogy of a house. You can't put a security system in if there's no walls to put it or doors and stuff. So for entry level, and I think that the uni system and all the like stuff like that is really making it harder for people trying to get entry level roles because they. I mean, I've not sat on a uni course, and I mean they're good, but you don't have that experience. It's very like theatrical. Obviously, you're doing a lot of reading, and it's not very hands-on. From what I gather, so I would suggest that anyone trying to get in, they need to get hands-on. They need to have that passion to build something and showcase that, and don't do it in a silo. I was actually watching a video today. There's a guy called Network Chuck, who's quite a big YouTuber, and he actually had a video about making a website and showcasing it to people. And there was a quote, and I can't remember what the quote was now, but it was something like, well, basically, if you can teach someone like that, it's the best thing you can do, sort of thing. Like you should be able to learn something and then start teaching it, and if you know something, showcase it. So because what can happen is people can see you then, and if you start sort of distributing your knowledge out there to LinkedIn and different places and have your own website, people will go to you. Because I've been the other side of the fence. I've been there recruiting people, and one of the first things that I've done is gone to YouTube or gone to Google and search for them. What have they done online? What can I take from them? Because CV is just not enough these days. They need to do that extra to sort of say, I've done this and this is how. Because what you can do, you take so much from their online presence and their digital footprint. You can take so much from that to understand how they work and how they will fit in your team. So, like for a website, you can see their writing style, and if it's a technical role, you can see how they document stuff and what they've done technically, and other things. So, yeah, for entry level, I think main thing is getting hands on. I think the certs are good, but they only get you so far. They probably get you an interview, but once you're in the interview, you need to show that experience as well.
Absolutely. I think I couldn't agree more. And I think this is why I encourage people to do what my friend Joe does. And that's basically talk about what they're doing in their CTS, whether it's try hack me, hack the box, whatever form it takes. Because there are rooms in there that cover all aspects of cybersecurity. So whatever aspect's relevant to you, do those rooms.
Yeah.
And then showcase it, because there's no other way people can know how good you are or not unless you talk about it and people can see it. And I think we're very much in the visual age now. This is not where you have a static CV and that gets you an interview and then you're able to sort of talk about it. Nowadays, hiring managers do exactly what you say. They are actually going to various formats and looking, right, what's this person got in GitHub? What's this person got within YouTube? What's this person, what is his online presence just in general? So yeah, I definitely think that's really good advice.
And just to put it, I want to caveat it that
Yeah,
we're not expecting people to be influencers. You're not expected to have tens of thousands of followers and millions of views on YouTube and all this kind of stuff. What you basically need is just where someone you can put it. I mean, my CV, my name is a hyperlink to my Instagram. I'm going Instagram, my LinkedIn. So people can go and see what I've done. And I'm gonna put my hands up now. I've probably been the last 6 months not done much on there, but it's something that I need to do more of. Even though I've got a role, you still need to put your stuff out there and actually
absolutely.
keep it going, because you never know what's going to happen across tomorrow or in a month's time.
You don't, and just to caveat that a little bit before we get going, actually, it's my good friend Lisa, who's one of the careers advisors at Caps Lock. She calls it Linkfluencer. She's made a play on words, so a little bit of a shout out to you there, Lisa. But anyway, thank you very much. It's actually been very useful. I know it's take two because we tried to do this the other day, but teams didn't play. So thank you a lot, and it's been much appreciated. It's good to hear your story, because I think it's very useful with a different background that there might be people out there, that experts that can relate to it, and maybe it might help them as well. So thanks.
Thank you.
Let's get that closed. Oh, stop recording. Yeah. So